We begin with a major shakeup in the governor's race. One of the most recognizable names has officially dropped out. Former Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan.
He was running as an independent, and this could have some major ramifications on the remaining candidates' outlooks. Political reporter Rick Albin joining us live now what all of this means.
Well, we'll know what it all means sometime in November, but right now, Duggan made the decision to shed his Democratic persona and run as an independent in what looked like was going to be a hard-fought Democratic primary with the current Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, and at one point, potentially Attorney General Dana Nessel, all thought to be considering a run. Ultimately, Nessel did not pursue the seat. Gilchrist did, but he dropped out to become the presumptive Democratic candidate for Secretary of State, leaving Benson as the biggest name in the Democratic race with more than a 50-point lead over her nearest challenger. Part of the calculation, almost certainly by the Duggan team, was to see a bruising Democratic primary produce a candidate who had been heavily challenged, leaving Democrats fractured, and that could have been an opening for him. That just didn't materialize. In a statement today, Duggan said, in part, "I am so disappointed to have to write you this letter. For the last 18 months, I've worked every day to try and change Michigan's toxic party politics. I've been supported by hundreds of volunteers who believe deeply that the years of constant Democratic-Republican conflict in Lansing have led our schools declining and our housing costs rising, our young people moving out of Michigan in record numbers." He went on to say, and quoting again, "Being down 11 points in May wouldn't discourage me. I've been down worse than that in the past. But this time it's compounded by our inability to build serious national fundraising support. Michigan donors have been extraordinarily generous in supporting this campaign. 94% of my donors come from Michigan. We raise more in-state than any other candidate," end quote. But that's part of the problem of mounting an independent race. The national infrastructure just isn't there, and despite being well known in Southeast Michigan, Mayor Duggan's national profile apparently was not sufficient to attract that national money. In interviews over the past year and a half, he was always a perpetual optimist and told me just over 2 months ago.
Oh, there's no doubt. I obviously know the Tri-County area extremely well, but yesterday I did a town hall in Hillsdale in the western part of the state, then in Dundee down in the southern part of the state, this afternoon at Bamboo in Grand Rapids with the tech community, and now here in the Boston Square neighborhood. And it is really important to listen to people, and every part of this state is different, has a little bit different focus, but overall, people want the children to learn to read in the schools, they want affordable housing for their community, and they want our young people to stay in the state, and that's pretty much universal.
So Duggan is out, and the primary for Democrats and Republicans just more than 70 days away, and this will have an impact on the race for governor, particularly in November, George.
Rick, so what does this mean for the major party candidates now and after the primary?
Well, right now, it will be interesting to see what happens. And here's something people might not think about. Duggan had a pretty good staff, so now there are a bunch of folks that won't be working on his campaign that may be available for some of the other campaigns if they're still looking to fill some holes in their bench. Which party benefits? It's hard to say because we know that Duggan was thought in early on to be the guy who would take votes from Democrats, but we saw some Republican donors that were going to his part of the race. Now, where do they go? Do they get out and find somebody else to follow and make some donations to them? So it's a little hard to know if Republicans or Democrats benefit or lose from this. But here's one thing you got to watch for really closely. Does he endorse anyone in the primary? Now, as I stand here at this moment, I think it's possible that he could. And the reason I think that is I've already seen at least one candidate come out praising Duggan and his race for this office. And I don't know if there's any indication there or if that was just being polite, but we'll watch that really carefully because if he does endorse, I think that could have an impact. And then we'll just have to wait and see what happens in November.
All right, Rick, thank you.
Yeah, a lot to watch for anytime political shakeups happen. Just got to wait and see. Rick, appreciate that in-depth analysis. Meanwhile, we're talking about reaction. They're coming in from other political leaders. Michigan Democratic Party Chair thanked Duggan for his service to the state. And Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, who we just talked about, she's running for governor. She said in a statement, they may not have agreed on everything, but their common ground is building a stronger Michigan. Part of that statement read, I welcome Mayor Duggan's idea ideas, his supporters, and everyone who believes Michigan's future is bigger than division and that it can be a place where anyone can afford to live, work, and thrive.